Sheesh. Some of y'all tire me out. I tell you, I've been getting so many comments from my last video. And man, y'all exhausting. Like, some people, of course, come to oppose. Of course, that's what they do. A lot of them seem like the Hebrew Israelite cults that I've talked about. Again, not talking about Hebrews, because Hebrew Israelites in and of themselves are y'all's chosen people. But there are groups out here that are racist, don't like white people, think we're Edomites, even though we're not Edomites, because the Edomites are red. White people are not red, and Edomites were wiped out in Obadiah 18, so they're no longer roaming the face of this earth. But we're not Edomites, okay? I'm not an Edomite. I'm a white person. I'm not an Edomite. Therefore, to talk about the house of, Esau, which is from Edom, right, that they will be slaves to Israelites in the kingdom and so forth, that's not talking about me. That's not talking about me or whatever. That has nothing to do with me. I'm not an Edomite, right? I would have been considered a Gentile, which is just nations who worshipped other gods. But me, myself, had never worshipped another God. But, I think it's so interesting that, when people read the word and they twist the word and they want it to be what it says they are, and or they want it to be a certain thing, or, you have manipulators come on there and y'all, let me tell you firsthand, let me tell you. One thing you're not going to do is climb up in my space. You're not going to crawl up in my space, in my area, and think you're going to manipulate me without me seeing it. You're not going to manipulate me and get away with it. You're going to attempt to, and I'm going to say, I see what you're doing right there. You're trying to twist my words. You're basically saying everything that I'm not saying, and you're trying to flip it to where I'm saying something wrong when I'm really not. You're just a racist and you have some heart issues that you got to deal with, because this is a lot of what I get. And a lot of people think, oh, racism is just amongst white people who don't like black people. Let me tell you, as a white woman, how much racism I have dealt with from black people, and it is absolutely ridiculous, because I've never been racist in my life. I like black men. I love black people, like most black people. Most of my friends are black. I date black, and if I marry, I'll marry black. And if I marry, I'll have a black family and so forth. But I just find it so interesting that they said, and I had this verse on the top of my head, but I forgot it. Let me pause it. See if I can pause this real quick and find it. Okay. Yes. Go to Romans verse 9, 24 through 26. Romans chapter 9, 24 through 26. And what does y'all say in there? He says, those who were once not my people will now be my people. Those who were not my beloved are now my beloved. Though I said they weren't my people before, they are now my people, and they are now the living sons of Elohim. Living sons, which of course we speak as in male, because women came from male, so we always speak as far as man, but of course which includes women. So sons and daughters of his. The word is clear, y'all. You can't pick and choose what you want to follow in the word. If you believe the Bible, you must believe it in its entirety. You can't pick and choose and just run with this one particular verse while you ignore all the rest. You can't just run with the Old Testament and completely ignore the fact that in the New Testament that Yahusha came to restore, to bring order, and to be able to save the rest of mankind, those who call upon him, those who trust in him, those who rely on him, and those who receive him as Lord and Savior and walk that walk in righteousness. All right. So stop twisting the word. Stop trying to manipulate people. Again, you ain't come over here with that. And if you don't know the Bible, you don't know the Bible. Because a lot of people aren't read and unstudied, and I don't know everything, but I will go to the word looking for it. And I found out so much saying how the Gentiles were grafted in, and that we were given fortunes, and that we have inherited the kingdom as well. And part of it was actually to make Israel jealous for being rebellious. And I guess apparently it has worked, because a lot of Israelites, they hate the fact that we now Gentiles have inherited the kingdom as well. And it's so unfortunate, because to feel that way shows you have a lot of hatred in your heart, and you really got to work on some stuff, because that spirit that you're working with, that heart that you're working with, that's not going to inherit the kingdom at all. Know the word and study to show thyself approved. And if you hate other people or mad at other people because they have a right to the kingdom too, then that should show you what spirit you're functioning with, and it's not the spirit of the Most High. Yeah, it's not. So please get your heart right before y'all. Don't come in here trying to manipulate me or doing whatever. I'll block you, whatever. You're not going to come up in my space with those shenanigans and think you're going to dare manipulate me, because I know manipulation when I see it, and it's not tolerated here. All right. So come with respect, give respect. All right. Treat people the way you want to be treated. In Yahushua's name I pray. Amen.
Let's go to Romans 9 verses 24 and 25. Verse 24. Even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. So Paul is saying the Most High didn't only call the Jews, he called the Gentiles too. So let's see who these Gentiles are that the Most High called. Verse 25. As he saith also in OC, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not my beloved. Verse 26. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. Now we just read this in Hosea 1 and 10. But Paul calls them Gentiles in Romans 9, verse 24, but he's referring to Hosea 1 and 10, where they were identified as being the children of Israel. So Israelites were being called Gentiles. Paul called them Gentiles, which also proves that the Gentiles that Paul went to teach were these same Israelite foreigners from Hosea 1 and 10. Hosea 1 and 10 and Romans 9 and 26 is the same exact quote and the same exact people. So if there were Israelites in Hosea 1 and 10, then there's still Israelites in Romans 9 and 26. Paul called them Gentiles in verse 24 because the scattered Israelites were being called Gentiles. You can't get around that. And that same quote is found again in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 10, proving that the same people that Peter wrote to are the same people that Paul went to. The Gentiles, which are the children of Israel from Hosea chapter 1, verse 10. Now let's go back to 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 10, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of the Most High, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. Who didn't obtain mercy from the Most High, but now has obtained mercy? Is it the other nations? Let's go back to Hosea chapter 1, verse 6 and 7. Precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. That's how you got to do it to get the truth. It takes a little longer, but that's how you get the truth. Hosea 1, verse 6. And she conceived again and bare a daughter. And the Most High said unto him, Call her name Laruhamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah. So the Most High had mercy on the house of Judah, but he didn't have mercy on the house of Israel. However, he promised that eventually he would have mercy on the house of Israel. Let's get that in Hosea 2, verse 23. And I will sow her unto me in the earth, and I will have mercy upon her that had not obtained mercy. And I will say to them which were not my people, Thou art my people, and they shall say, Thou art my power. So you see here that it was the house of Israel that didn't obtain mercy, but the Most High promised that he would give it to them. So how did he do it? Let's go to it and read it. Matthew 15, verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's beautiful. It was through Christ, Yahweh Shai, that the house of Israel obtained the mercy that the Most High promised them in the book of Hosea. Now, when you read Hosea 1 and 10, you see that they were not the Most High's people, but they became the Most High's people. These people represent the fullness of the Gentiles coming in. They were Gentiles in the sense that they weren't keeping the customs anymore. Most of them had fell into idolatry and they didn't live in Jerusalem. This is why Peter called them scattered strangers. They were foreigners, Gentiles, but they were prophesied to come back into the fold. Once again, let's look at Romans 11:25. For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, here's the part, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. So you have to remember the history. The northern kingdom, which is the house of Israel, was put away by the Most High. That's in Jeremiah 3 and 8. Let's get that. Jeremiah 3 and 8. And I saw when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I have put her away and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah fared not, but went and played the harlot also. But remember, he had mercy on Judah. We looked at that. But he didn't have mercy on Israel. He put them away. The Most High disowned the northern kingdom. He rejected them. They became strangers to the covenants. That's in Ephesians 2, 11 through 14. Ephesians 2, verse 11. Wherefore, remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without the Most High in the world. But now in Yahushua, ye who sometimes were far off are made nigh by the blood of Christ. For he is our peace, who have made both one and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us. So why did he have to break down the middle wall of partition between us? Because the southern kingdom, the house of Judah, was looking at the northern kingdom, the house of Israel, as a totally separate people and a totally separate nation. They were looking at them as Gentiles. Ezekiel 37, verses 21 and 22. And say unto them, Thus saith the Lord power, Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Listen to this, verse 22. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. See, this is the point that has to be understood. After the split, they were two separate kingdoms and two separate nations. And that's why Ephesians 2:14 says, He is our peace, who have made both one and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us, because they had become separate in two, but he came to make them one again. Now let's go back to Matthew 21, verse 43, and see how the prophecy that Christ spoke fits in and wrap all this up. Verse 43, Therefore say I unto you, the kingdom of the Most High shall be taken from you and given to a nation, bringing forth the fruits thereof. Now this nation that was going to receive the kingdom was the house of Israel, the northern kingdom, those that the Most High put away, the Gentiles, those that were scattered, the strangers, the people that Peter was writing to. It's all the same people. It was a plan. It was the mystery that Paul spoke of in Ephesians. Those Gentiles were Israelite foreigners. All right, now that we established that this nation that Christ spoke about were Israelites, let's read that prophecy one last time. Matthew 21, verse 43. Therefore say I unto you, the kingdom of the Most High shall be taken from you and given to a nation, bringing forth the fruits thereof. Now, the reason I wanted to read that again is because I want to show you when this prophecy was fulfilled. Let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 46. Then Paul and Barnabas waxed bold and said, It was necessary that the word of the Most High should first have been spoken to you. But seeing ye put it from you and judge yourselves unworthy of everlasting life, lo, we turn to the Gentiles. Now, we already established that when Christ made this prophecy in Matthew 21, he was talking about the house of Israel. So when Paul said this, who do you think he was talking about? he was talking about the same people Christ was talking about, the house of Israel, the strangers, the Israelite foreigners, which are the Gentiles. Look at it again. He said, lo, we turn to the Gentiles. This is the same prophecy that Christ spoke. So when you see Paul going to the Gentiles in the scriptures, it's not talking about the other nations. Those Gentiles that Paul went to were Israelite foreigners who were being called Gentiles. The Most High is not the author of confusion. Christ was talking about the house of Israel, and so was Paul. All right, I just want to go back to 1 Peter chapter 2 one last time to put the nail in the coffin. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 25. For ye were as sheep going astray, but are now returned unto the shepherd and bishop of your souls. Notice he said, for ye were as sheep going astray, meaning you were originally a part of the fold, but you went away. That's why Christ said this in John 10 and 16. And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. That's not talking about the other nations. That's talking about the scattered Israelites. Remember, we read the same thing in Ezekiel 37, verse 22. I'll put them up together so you can see it. One says one shepherd, one fold. The other one says one king, one nation. It's the same thing. All right, I'm going to close out on this last scripture. Ephesians 2, 16 through 19. Verse 16. And that he might reconcile both unto the Most High in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby, and came and preached peace to you which were afar off, and to them that were nigh. In other words, to the house of Judah that was nigh, and to the scattered Israelites, mainly of the house of Israel. Verse 18, for through him we both have access by one Spirit unto the Father. Now, therefore, ye are no more strangers. Remember, Peter was writing to the scattered strangers. Now, therefore, ye are no more strangers and foreigners, which is the same thing as saying Gentiles. Remember, Gentile, stranger, foreigner, it's all the same word. Now, therefore, ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of the Most High. So the Gentiles that were grafted into the covenants, they were Israelite foreigners. It can't be any clearer than that. So with that, I say shalom.